are. There's John. There he is.
Okay, go ahead, Amanda.
You need to unmute.
Oh.
Unmute.
So
There we go. Okay.
we shall call to order the January 2021 meeting of the Tree Council. And let's do a roll call. I will start and we'll just go around the circle here. Amanda Matuzik. Anybody can go next.
Clockwise?
Sure,
Amy.
clockwise.
Andrea Worthington?
Chris Zimmerman.
John Marr.
I think that's all right. Yeah, that's all 5 of you.
All right, yeah. So I believe the next item is the approval of the minutes, and we have the October 8th, November 12th, and December 10th. Do we have enough people to do the
There you go.
voting? Okay. Are there any comments on the October 8th?
So, Amanda, the last time that we tried to do this, I brought up just some typo and grammatical informational changes, which I think have been corrected. So I'm okay with the way it stands.
Great. Are there any other comments on the October 8th
Not for me.
meeting minutes?
So you want just simple typo stuff? Because
Yeah, it was some a description about where we were going to place the Blatnick sign, just to
Right.
reword the description to make it more clear about where we intended. And the same thing with the Olympic rings going on the sign. It just was not as clear as what we meant.
okay.
So I think that has been taken care of.
Right.
Correct me if you guys see anything.
Well, I was just wondering if you wanted really silly little grammatical stuff.
Oh, yes, we always take those. Yes.
Yeah. So like on page 3, line 29 says she has spoken the Ray Smith. That should be 2.
Which,
Page 3 in the attachments that Laura sent us.
are
Line
you
29.
looking at October 8th?
Let me
minutes?
see. What am I looking? Oh, I'm sorry. This is November. Sorry. Never mind.
I was looking at the exact same thing you were looking at. That was a November meeting either. Well, you got it.
Okay, how about October 8th? Any other comments for October 8th? Okay,
Really, it was a very
sorry.
succinct and rapid meeting.
yeah, 1 page of meeting minutes, I think. So we'd like to vote on that. Do we have a motion
Aye.
to approve?
I motion to vote.
Second,
So
Aye.
Andrea motion, Amy second. Everybody say aye.
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 Okay. Any nays? Okay. Let's move on to the November 12th meeting minutes. And you had something, Jonathan?
so Jonathan's
Yeah.
got something, and then after him, I have something.
Yeah, so page 3, line 29. There's a there should be a 2. Also noted that she has spoken the Ray Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got that.
Jonathan, you set?
Well, I have, there's a number of typos. It sounds like other people have some too. Should I just go through my list?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Page 4, line 50. seems to be a missing word. Has Mr. Zimmerman noted that the description should not only trees?
Yeah,
Maybe should not be only trees?
Probably include. It should probably say, Mr. Zimmerman noted that the description should not include only trees, but skill sets we
Yeah.
apply outreach
Yeah.
to the CIS application.
agreed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
2950. Okay, got that one.
Okay, page 5, line 88. There's the word affect. This should be effect.
Yes, I had that as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
And line 93, there's a THAN. There should be a THEN. She noted if the council is going to plant pollinator-friendly plants, then they don't want to start with the grassed area.
Yes, agreed.
Okay. Page 6, line 123. Again, a missing word. The at the end of the sentence, she the master plan budget.
Oh, that's probably said.
Yeah.
She said the master plan budget will be used up by the engineering working on the plan. It
Yep.
said that, yeah.
Okay, and then lastly, line 151.
Yes,
The word MAY should be deleted.
well, I think she meant maybe.
Oh, stated that the tree.
may not be an ash, but potentially a box elder.
Okay, well, we have an is in there as well, so change
Right.
the. Okay.
So get rid of the is maybe.
Yeah, we'll give it an is.
Depends on what your definition of is.
Right. So if you get rid of is, you got to stick a BE in there somewhere in the sentence, right? May not be, I guess you suggested, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Jonathan?
That's it for me.
Great. Amy, do you have any?
Thank
additional-
you. Yes, thank you.
Well done.
Page 2, line 70. Ms. Hawansky asked if it considered an old growth forest. Asked if it is considered an old growth forest.
Mhm.
Right below that, line 75 with initial A subline. Officially designate an area as old growth forest by an expert, AN.
And, yeah.
And I had some of the same ones that Jonathan had. So that's it for me on that one.
Okay.
Well done.
Anybody else? Okay, so shall we vote on accepting the minutes, approving the minutes?
Yeah, proving the minutes as corrected. Yeah.
That's corrected. Someone want to make a motion? Andrea? Yay!
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. Everybody who wants to vote aye? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody nay? Okay, we will accept the minutes as corrected for November 12th. And shall we move to
December.
December 10th minutes? Are there any comments? That was
I
a-
did not have any.
I don't have any and I wasn't there.
This is a very small issue, and for some reason it follows me everywhere. I don't know why it is, but my name, it says, I'm listed on line 15 as excused. It wasn't there. My name is actually ends with an AN, not an ON. JONATHAN.
Yep, we'll fix that.
Okay.
Definitely.
It also,
Is
it's
it right
also
on-
written, it's also written that way up at the top of the members
Mm.
present,
Mm,
Yeah,
FYI.
that's what I was just wondering. We'll double check all of those.
yeah, okay. I don't care much, but just try to be precise.
You know, we want to get it right. I'm sorry for all the typos, but I appreciate you guys reading them because it makes the record much better. Much better.
Okay, does anybody else have any comments? Any other additional comments?
No,
Okay, shall we vote? Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I will.
Amy, is there a second?
I'll second. I wasn't there, but it's okay. I'll second it.
Okay. Everybody in approval, say aye.
I,
Okay, thanks.
Hmm.
We shall accept the December 10th minutes as corrected.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Let me just go back here. Privilege of the floor. Laura, do we have anybody that wanted to make a comment or be included?
I double checked right when we started the meeting, and I had not received any comments or requests for tonight.
Okay. Okie dokie. So we will continue on new business and action items. The first item is the topic of the youth representative. And it looks like we had several applications.
Yes.
We have
When I
So
went to print these out, just FYI, they came out weird. So I tried then to read them on the computer. So forgive me if I didn't catch all of them.
So I have two, Shivani Patel and Faith Foley.
it looked to me like there was
Janet-
five.
There were several more.
Yeah, I think there was.
Janet
me-
Gleason, that's the only one.
Melissa Ochan.
Mia
Oh.
Etkin, Faith Foley.
Yes.
I wasn't able to print out their stuff. I wonder why.
Some of them were
Right.
JPEGs, so they came out very oddly sized.
Yeah.
And that's just because
Oh.
we weren't accepting paper copies because of COVID. And so,
Oh.
like, I don't know if it's in this round, but one of the kids took a picture of their computer screen, and another kid took a picture of the application, and then
Ah.
emailed the picture. So there's just a variety of means of getting electronic applications to us because they couldn't hand in the paper.
Yeah. So
Okay.
how many students, how many youth applied?
So we have 5 for the tree council. They were allowed to pick they were allowed to pick more than one. So a couple of them picked tree council and climate smart communities task force. But anybody who clicked on tree council, I included in our
Okay.
packet here. A couple of them only wanted tree council. So the last,
Oh, let's see.
well,
Yeah.
the 2 middle ones. And then one of them was CIC and tree council.
Oh,
So-
I see.
And
We
we
have the-
did
have-
leave, we had a very short time for them to submit. So we did leave it open for them to submit until tomorrow. But what I was thinking is we could pick our favorite candidate. And if we do get another one, I'll email it around to you guys. But my guess is this is probably the extent for now of what we'll see. I just, if we get another one that comes in, I'll forward it on to you. But I think we should probably pick out of these 5 if we can tonight. And then if anything changes, I'll email you guys.
So Laura, could I confirm, I'm kind of scrolling through them now, just to confirm, they were all from the high school, correct?
They're all from the high school. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, Mia Edkin applied. She's in 11th grade. She can do night meetings. She worked.
also-
I think she worked for the town before, right? Oops, let me see.
I don't know. She also checked that she was interested in the Climate Smart Communities Task Force.
That's faithfully?
No,
Mia.
Mia
Mia.
Etkin. Yeah, she said that she
I don't
positions
know
because
Mia.
Atkins.
Here, Andrea, I'll share my screen so you can see
she was the first one in the list that we got.
the first one.
Because I only have 3 kiddos.
So, whoops, too fast. So
I don't know why I didn't get the,
this is Mia's.
I don't know why I didn't get the other one.
I believe she would be qualified because of prior volunteer work experience. Wait, sorry, let me just move this.
Thank you for sharing your screen.
Yeah.
Really.
Prior volunteer work experience in the town of Niskayuna, as well as being employed by the town for the last several years at the summer camps. So she has experience with the town.
It sort of cuts
I'm
off.
sorry.
The second page.
There we go. She loves being involved in the community, keeping busy. She's passionate about advocating for change. She's a student athlete. She has volunteered as a dive coach and has done volunteer work in the past. And she was also part of the student council during 7th and 8th grade. So she says she really enjoys nature and environment, and she wants to participate in our community. That is Mia.
Okay.
Faith has always been passionate about the environment. She checks the council and for the park communities. She's able to do night meetings. She has a desire to create change, which started very early on. She created Pause for the Park, an initiative to raise money for the rebuild of Birchwood Elementary School Nature Park. And she actively volunteers in the President's Volunteer Service Award, and has she does feel like there's not very many volunteer opportunities geared specifically towards the environment, and she wants to major in environmental engineering or environmental science. So she felt like serving on either the Climate Smart Community Task Force or the Tree Council would be a great opportunity for her to gain experience.
There's a lot of background noise I'm hearing from.
I'm sorry, it's me. I'm flipping papers. Sorry.
You can just, while I'm just going through them, you can just put yourself on mute. Sorry, I'm full screen on my computer here. She holds a leadership position with the Niskayuna High School Friends Club, but would appreciate the opportunity to be a student representative for the town. Jenna Green.
How many students do we want?
We can only have one, so we have to pick out of the 5.
Oh,
I mean, they're all great. I'll just go through them because I know some of you guys didn't have the ability to print them out. So Jenna Green is in 12th grade. She can do night meetings. She doesn't have a lot of experience, but is willing to learn. She's a fast learner. She's interested in serving the Tree Council. She clicked Tree Council only because she believes it's important to increase the diversity species of trees in the town, and believes that teaching the residents how to plant and maintain trees will create a difference in our community. That's Jenna Green, number 3. Number 4 was Shivani Patel. 11th grade, she can do night meetings. She's interested in serving because she loves nature and she wants to protect nature, not exploit it. She's qualified for the council because she has previous experience with trees for 3 years, and she's helped fundraise for BAPS charities, walk, green events. Sorry. They would collect money, and BAPS charities would then donate all of it to the Nature Conservancy's effort to plant 1 billion trees. They also had a walkathon to raise awareness for the cause. So that's Shivani Patel.
mm-hmm.
And then the last one is Melissa. Ochoa. Okay. She's in 12th grade and can also do night meetings. She says she does not have much experience on these. However, she's willing to learn and cooperate to accomplish the goals and objectives. She would use her leadership skills from working as a Niskayuna camp counselor and give ideas so that more people can love Niskayuna even more. And she had Tree Council and Conservation Advisory Council. So that's the 5 there. And like, for the record, you can't go wrong. Any one of them would be amazing. I find it to be very hard to pick one.
I think so. A lot of energy there.
I have a
They're all very
question.
impressive.
Sorry, Amanda. I have a question of clarification.
Sure, go ahead.
Originally, the intent, I believe, by Councilwoman Jakewith was to have this proposed to high schools, colleges, right? In the application, it says you could be a college student, high school student, you could be a trade school student, or a grad student. And I'm wondering, obviously, it was brought to the attention of the Niskayuna High School. I'm wondering if it has yet been brought to the attention of Schenectady County Community College, the local BOCES schools, and other grad or college level as well.
So we did email blast it to the whole of the public, and we did reach out to Union, but I don't know that we reached out directly to SEC.
Union just came back this week. They were on break since before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Mm.
I know Ashok was working really hard to make sure
Yeah.
that the Union students had it. He may have sent it out early, but they may not have actually gotten it.
Yeah.
And
They're all
I
doing
did like
distance
extend the
learning.
ability for it to come back too.
They're all doing distance learning too, so it's not like they're on campus to get any information.
Yeah, some are. I mean,
Yeah.
Union is
Yeah.
hybrid.
And so wondering if it was sent to Albany BOCES or to programs at Hudson Valley. For example, they have a surveying program there.
Not directly, like through the email blast to all residents. Anybody who had ties to those things, if they were signed up for the email, would get it. But the only direct outreaches we did was the Niskayuna High School and to Union College, just because of our contacts at both places.
Laura,
Laura,
the people that did double registration or double committees, do they have other representatives on the other committees? Or, because if we take one that signed up for the other committee, like the CAC, is that the only kid on the CAC? So they won't get one?
Yeah, I think the Tree Council actually had the most applicants. Yay, Tree Council! But
Because we're awesome.
they won't be
Well, that's
fielding.
fair.
The Climate Smart Community Task Force was the second most, I think, and CIC had a couple. We only got one for Complete Streets, which surprises me a lot because kids are really good about alternate means of transportation. But it is a short time frame. I mean, I think we want this. This is the beginning of the program. The more the program becomes well known, probably the more applications we'll get. And it was like a transition time of year, like Jonathan mentioned. The high school students were also out, but the town board really wants to get these on the docket for February. So the time schedule gets crunched. You guys would not be able to meet before we would have to present the name to the Economic Development Committee for the town board.
Laura, quick question.
Sure.
I have two questions. One, can you just remind us of the duties of this, intern position? Are they just expected to attend the meetings, or do they actually have tasks that they need to perform? And then additionally, will they have like a point person that will serve as either a mentor or, supervisor essentially?
It says they're supposed to have 20 to 30 hours of service annually. And to
Be what they expect to do through us. Because
Yeah.
I think we keep track, of those things, but it's essentially on what you guys do when I submit your volunteer hours. I think I figure out what our average amount of time is for a meeting, plus the time we spend on Arbor Day and our tree planting initiatives, and it ends up being somewhere in that range. I think it's a little bit lower because theirs is they're starting mid-year, but I think those are both actually good ideas, but they did not, because it's a new program, they didn't. We don't have any like specific a role assigned. Nobody is mentoring them. It wasn't set up that way. It's set up, I think, for them to be, because they didn't put them on a planning board or zoning board because those are legal entities, but you guys are advisory. So they essentially, expanded the advisory board by one and they are allowed to attend, speak, give input, bring home. They're the same as
Go
any other.
out with us to do when we
Yeah.
do the job of it, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, I misinterpreted the nature of the position, and so they are actually members of the tree council then.
Yeah. One seat.
Okay, thank you. That's
Yeah.
that's very helpful. Thank you.
So, could I please ask, how much time between when the notices went out and when the applications were due?
I can tell you that. Hold on.
They were due January 11th, it says,
They
at
were-
5 p.m.
Sent out. I have like I said, I did extend that too. They were sent out on December 22nd. So
Like 3 weeks.
like 3 weeks.
3 weeks, but that includes a Christmas and New Year's period.
Yeah, it's a
not
rough
really 3
time.
weeks. Yeah, yeah.
So
So,
anybody who
December
did this is
22nd.
really dedicated.
December 22nd to when were they due? January
11.
11th. Okay.
So hard to pick between 5. I am not denying at all that it went out on a tough time. Be hard. I mean, it'd also be hard to pick between 10. I think we have some good candidates though. If you guys like, I mean,
What limits the number of people, young people we could have? Because there's lots of jobs we do.
I mean, we can, like, our youth representative might be able to, you know, like, bring more volunteers with them and stuff like that. But it's limited by the fact that the town board only extended the board by 1 seat, you know,
Oh.
and it's a specific youth representative seat. And then they very thoughtfully delegated us choosing the person to us because, of course, it's very hard.
You know what? You know what we could do? What we could do is pick one and have another one be a substitute or the absentee person or something like that, because you know, people these age are busy. They're going to be going for tests. They're going to be worried about their schoolwork. They may have jobs, you know, that it might be good to maybe say you're on there and your backup or your substitute is blah, blah, blah. And the blah, blah, blah could come to the meetings, may not have any responsibility until the one we chose disappears on us because of other things.
I can present that. I mean, like I said, it is a new program and it's a little bit in flux. So I can definitely present that, you know, as a thought that we had to economic development. But, you know, I think what we need to do at this meeting is choose probably our first and second choice, just in case some of them overlap, and then see if we can get one of them for now.
Laura, I had one quick question about the length of the term. Does it go through say the end of the school year, so the end of June, or does it go through like the entire 2021, like, you know, the rest of us?
Very good question, Amanda.
So
Yeah.
through the 2021, I mean, they literally just expanded the tree council by a seat and designated it as the youth representative.
Hmm.
So like
Okay.
if they decided, if we picked a 12th grader and they ended up going to college and, you know, we started meeting in person so they couldn't attend our meetings, then they would step down at that point and we'd look for a younger one. So it would be rolling. You know, it's sort of nice to have consistency, but like, you know,
Okay.
it's okay if, you know, we have them for, you know, a short amount of time and then they move on and then we get another one. We have that situation actually at town hall for our videographers. Like they roll over very quickly because we can only have 11th or 12th graders as videographers because they have to be over 16. And yeah, they're pretty good at finding replacements for themselves and sharing ideas and thoughts, you know, with their peers at school. And so we do tend to just overlap them like a meeting or two while they're transitioning, and then they go and do their thing. And it's fun to meet them while they're moving and choosing their colleges and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
That sounds good. I mean, that even could be our modus, that you're on for a certain amount of time and someone else is going to come in, you know, that would spread the wealth.
Yeah,
Andrea-
it'll be a fluctuating spot for sure.
Yeah.
When Andrea, when you were first, 2 minutes ago Andrea, sorry, when you were first proposing 2 minutes ago that you have kind of this alternate substitute person, in the first moment, I thought, that's not going to work. But as I'm thinking more and you describing more, that actually may address some of these concerns. It's kind of like the future president and past president also participate in the organization, in many organizations. So you have like a smooth transition. So maybe if there are two people, if one person ends up leaving, going to college, getting a job, whatever the case may be, the other person would have a more seamless role in. So I'm beginning to like your suggestion.
I mean, we've got one 12th grader and two 11th graders, which obviously will eventually be 12th graders next year. And so it's like, if they, yeah, even if you had one of the 11th grade, if we keep the 12th grader and pick an 11th grader, then we at least have somebody we've trained to do it when they're in 12th grade.
Yeah.
You know?
It's actually two 12th graders and 3 11th, but yeah.
I think I will say I don't know that we should base the decision on their status currently.
No,
I would rather base it on their qualifications and on what they've written.
Oh, no, I agree with you totally on that, Amy. It's just that the world of a 12th grader thinking more about what they're going to be doing and going to college is different than the world of an 11th grader who just wants to get to 12th grade. And so it's one of those things where I don't really even know what kind of, if they're just coming and listening to us or they're going to be doing a lot of work and they have to show that they've done work for us. I don't really understand it. But it's like they're already under a lot of pressure. That's what I'm going to just say.
They're younger, but they're equal.
Yeah.
As it should be in society anyway.
Yeah. One other option could be that for that particular seat, it's a school year seat and not a calendar year seat. That may help alleviate some of those issues. So where we're all calendar year seats, it's already different than us, right? We're a 3-year seat and this is a 1-year seat, if I'm correct. So perhaps it's, September through September kind of deal and not January through January.
Well, it
Laura,
won't even be September to September because they're all the seniors are going to be, getting ready to go to college,
Chris, Laura, this is Chris. So I don't know, folks, unfortunately, because I'm calling in from my phone and I did not prepare, I cannot necessarily choose or select a candidate at this time. So I don't know if others have nominations of what their top or second pick is at this point. If not, then maybe we could potentially do it by email if folks aren't ready to make a decision now.
I have suggestion now.
Good.
My first very clear comment is no offense to anyone. However, I think especially during COVID that having only from December 22nd to January 11th to reply is not long enough. And clearly we didn't get anybody submitting from BOCES, college or graduate programs, which it clearly states in the thing we can allow to participate. So I would say that my first choice would be to extend this and make sure that we've made the effort to give this information to colleges and BOCES. If, however, I'm outvoted, my first choice would be Faith Foley, who has said that she wants to be in environmental science and or environmental engineering as her major. And then my second choice would be Shivani Patel, who has said that she's already done fundraising for park and tree programs for the Nature Conservancy.
I have a question, and I also want to respond to what Amy just said. The first question is for someone to be on a committee or a board for the town of Niskayuna, do they have to be a resident of Niskayuna?
Yes, they do.
So a lot of the nearby college and graduate schools, they're not going to be Niskayuna residents. There are some Niskayuna residents at Union. I mean, I know of them, but we're talking much smaller. There isn't going to be a large number of the local college kids that are Niskayuna residents.
That's true. The union has a high level of Niskayuna kids in it. Yeah.
But then in terms of the choices, I basically agree with Amy. I put it in slightly different order. I did Shivani first and Faith second. But those were my top two choices. They seem to be more into the trees and nature and have the experience, and that I thought that was good. I was more impressed with the way they motivated themselves.
So this is Chris again. So those are the two candidates that caught my ear just as you read those out, if that's helpful. And then potentially to kind of address the concern about the nature of the process, maybe we could submit, a comment or recommendation that the process be, more broadly disseminated to foster a more, inclusive process along those lines. So maybe inclusive is not the right word there, but just to, ensure that the next round, that the time period is longer, and then it goes out to a broader, audience.
How many candidates have we got? You've printed out as 3.
5.
We have 5.
Is there any form of letter of recommendation or something from a teacher saying how the students in love with nature or anything like that?
No, it was just set up for them to fill out the application. So that's them. They followed the instructions. They were to fill out the application and email it to us with what board they'd like to be on and why. So that's
But these are just the ones that wanted our board as opposed to being invited to other boards. Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So Andrea, do you have any preferences as to whom you would prefer?
Well, I think I agree
everybody
with Faith and Shivani seeming to know more what we're about than Jenna, unfortunately. And not that she wouldn't be great, might be great, but they seem to know, those two seem to have addressed what we're about.
Okay, I agree with Faith as a good candidate, in my opinion. And the second choice, I'm Shivani or Mia. So
I don't have those people, so I don't know them.
So Laura, shall we vote on this, or what do you think the right
Yeah. Laura,
think you're
just
on
quickly. Laura, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, my recommendation, it's so hard to choose though.
No,
I completely agree.
very hard?
I would have identified Faith and Shivani as top and also included Mia up there. But probably just because Faith is trying to pursue an environmental degree, I probably would put her first because I think potentially we do so much in the field and may be helpful to that end and could help her on any resumes and applications that she wanted to do for that specific reason. So but I mean, I would say that generally speaking, I had kind of the same thoughts that you guys all had.
Okay, so are we voting on this, Laura, or is it pretty much like decided that we're from what we said?
I think you should vote on it because it is like your choice that you're submitting to the town board for appointment. So so maybe somebody could make a motion of their first and second choice, and then you guys could vote on it. If it doesn't pass, then you would choose a different one.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead, Amy.
Thank you. I would like to motion Faith as the first choice, and then if we are doing a second choice, Shivani as a second choice.
Good.
Does anybody
If
second?
the town allows us to do that.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Idea.
And Andrea, you seconded.
Mhm.
Okay, let's take this to a vote. we're voting for Faith as the candidate number 1. Let's just vote on that first. Is that all right, Laura?
Yeah, do you want me to do a roll call? Just I'll do,
Okay, sure.
Chris,
Yes.
Amanda.
Yes, I vote for Faith.
Yeah, this is for Faith as 1 and Shivani as number 2.
Okay, so yes.
Amy,
Yes,
Andrea,
Yes, yes for Faith.
and Jonathan.
Yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous, and we will forward that on to the town board. And I will also speak to them about the possibility of appointing one as an alternate, and also pass on the comments about some of the things that we just discussed as we're implementing this very new thing. But definitely, to Chris's point, put this out for a longer and better time as it starts to move forward and we get better at how it works.
so I think we had 3, correct me if I'm wrong, please, in my summary. I think we had 3 comments. A longer time or a different time, not during Christmas and New Year's, where they can reply, a broader reach, and then think about maybe if their year is not a calendar year, but maybe a school year. Would that help? Maybe not, but I think it's worth a discussion at least.
Okay, I have all 3 of those down. Plus, what was the first one I said? There's one other thing that I was going to talk to him about. Oh, the alternate. Yeah.
And the alternate. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Kind of on board. On what do they call it in baseball, where you're waiting to be the next?
On deck.
On
On
deck.
deck. On deck.
And there's certainly going to be times where they will have conflicts. And so it's good to have a substitute.
Okay, so I think we're set with that topic. Our next topic is the 2021 goals.
So I included in your packet the 2020 goals that we voted on last year. And just quickly, we had worked to continue collecting data in Fulcrum for the street tree inventory. Then we had number 2 was a tree master plan, which was create a sample master plan from Old Niskayuna neighborhood data and diversify street tree species. Number 3 was public outreach, and it had a couple prongs there. Number 4 was tree planting, and number 5 was adopt definition of tree value. And then our ongoing responsibilities were code updates, reviewing subdivisions, addressing homeowner questions, concerns, updating the master plant list, and pursuing forestry grants. I did think to myself, man, I mean, it's probably pretty similar to what we wanted to do this year, but I did want to note for the record that we have made progress with the tree master plan. We awarded the contract. We've got a draft that we need to work with. Chris was actually very good about requesting a meeting over December, and I was not able to accommodate, so I take full responsibility for that. So we'll try and do a tree master plan meeting this January. And I do think that we have been successful in diversifying our street tree species, especially with the plantings that we did this year. I thought our Arbor Day was very inventive considering the COVID circumstances and welcomed in our community. We obviously weren't able to do the Community Action Day or the Niska Day booth. Our website is still up and running. We could use a little bit of work on it, but it's still there. We did get our Tree City certification completed that Carol Craig really pushed me to make sure that happened. That was submitted. I think it should be good. And as far as tree planting goes, I do think that we had a good pilot program for tree planting. We did quite a few. We planted more trees this year than we have actually in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been here. And they were much more diverse. I don't think we planted sweet gums. We planted tupelos just on the street. So there's a lot of really good stuff that went out the door based on all of you guys' work over this year. So I feel like, and I don't know, you guys can jump in here, that in some ways we've met a lot of them, but in some ways a lot of them are still ongoing. So I would just take your direction. And then if we want to move around or say, okay, yeah, we've done that, or hone in on something else, just let me know. And then I'll prepare a draft based on our comments, and we could vote on at our next meeting.
Go ahead. if you
No,
want.
no, Andrea, you go ahead.
Okay, well, in terms of, I think that to me, it's like the removal of trees and replacement of trees is like the service we give to this community. That we don't necessarily remove them, but when they're removed, replacing them. And so I don't know, I look around in my neighborhood, even people who had markers for trees 2 years ago have not gotten a tree yet. And I don't know why they didn't get their tree, who said they didn't want it, who didn't want to plant it, or whether the time ran out or money ran out. I don't know what was going on. So that we may want to be more attentive to that in terms of the relationship with neighbors, people who are asking for street trees, and the actual delivery of it. Now, like I think of that small community we did in the spring where we were putting all those plants out, and that was great. Unfortunate for the people that ran out and said, I don't want a tree. So it was like, where were the miscommunication? You sent out so much information, why, it's like, so that anyway, I like that part of our mission. And I guess I hope we aren't so distracted by the developments and the arguments with developers or with other projects to not keep Niskayuna green. That's all I'm saying.
We could move that up on the priority list of primary goals would be number 1, tree planting.
I mean,
maybe put a bullet under it that would be, follow up on street tree planting requests or something like that.
I've been on this committee for so long. I thought that was the heartbeat of it. And if it's not the heartbeat of it anymore, I mean, that's okay. Have another heartbeat, But I thought serving individual people in this town, the public places, which are the street trees, and all that was, and people mourn when they lose a tree, and they'd like to see a tree back. And communities that are, for whatever reason, trees are removed, they're sick or they're ill, I don't know. I feel like that's where we get the most support from the town in terms of what we're doing. And Arbor Day is great. That also is a great one. Everybody comes out for Arbor Day. But I feel like that's where we've got the most visible.
So Andrea, are you
No worries.
saying that 4A should be more of a, prominent goal for us, the request procedure, so that when these things happen, then we can be more proactive and hopefully alleviate the whole process for residents? Is that something?
I mean, it's. I guess. I don't know, and I'm just saying this because if the town, the people who are actually planting the trees for us that work for the town, are they overwhelmed with so much work that this has become a problem? That they get upset that we've said, oh, we've got 100 trees we want you to plant. Or we have 50 trees you want you to plant. Or we have 20 we want you to plant. And they don't have the time. They can't do it because they've got other issues that they're worried about. So then that's like, then in my case, I've got an imagination that doesn't fit what the town can actually do, And so then maybe, okay, we could be doing other things, that are equally interesting and important, in terms of the inventories and the looking for places in parks to put exotic trees where we don't have to worry about anybody being upset about, I don't want that tree in my yard, So, I'm going to stop now.
Yeah, this is Chris. I mean, I agree. I think we could elevate that as a goal for this year, is just, being more working on that, getting those trees out. And so I think it's just, maybe elevating that goal and then a handful of people working, because I don't think I've ever even seen the list. Is that sit within the highway department? And then we just have to figure out how to manage that. So I think it's just developing some maybe activities around, people who want trees, get trees within a reasonable time frame.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had kind of this conversation before, and there was discussion, and there was a meeting with representatives from the highway department. So, Laura, can you tell us now what our current standing and our current procedure is? Because we had several options, and I know they kind of you guys worked out an agreement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the current requests go to the highway department, and if they feel like they need an opinion on what tree might possibly be suited for a street, they can feel free to call us. But we have no say currently in the list or what tree goes where.
What they didn't want us to do was to go down to Northern and pick out the trees, but they did seem willing to share the list with us and help us review the species before they purchase them.
And by the way, I have updates on that for you tonight too, as
Okay.
later as an aside. But so we don't, as Chris is asking, we haven't, and we don't currently have access to put stuff on the list or take stuff off the list or see if people on the list received their trees. We're more of a, hey, do you think this tree would be okay on Street B?
Right.
Is that correct?
I would say that probably is about where it stands right now. Although I think our relationship is, it's just hard, generally speaking, but it's getting better. If you ask me, we've already, I know that it's been, you guys have been on this board for, a while, but originally here, we literally only planted oaks and maples. So, it took 2 years of kind of beating our heads against the wall to get the species changed, but we did. And I think that they are more willing to reach out to us and ask. So, I think that as we continue to move together in the tree planting and replacement thing, our role can continue to grow. And so I wouldn't be discouraged. It takes a long time and it can be frustrating, but I would say, generally speaking, I have seen a lot of progress in our original goals and what our different departments have been doing since then, and their reliance on us in certain circumstances, I think, has also increased. So,
yeah, I got a proposal that might be helpful in that we could, through the tree master plan, which we're trying to move on in the next couple months, we could request, data just on, so we know how many trees were planted each year, which maybe you already have some of that information. And then that way we can share that with the entire committee. And then maybe we can get a general sense and just ask the highway department for the list of who's on a wait list currently, in the sense of just trying to inform the plan itself. Just to figure out, are we meeting the capacity and do they need more resources? And can the tree committee advocate for that?
That's a good idea.
I think we could also, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. No, that's it. I got to sign off soon probably, because I'm picking up my daughter from an event. So, but yeah, that might help.
Yeah.
To extend what Chris was saying, we may also be able to help, and we've had this idea before, that if 3 people on Street B are requesting trees because there was storm damage, and they lost their trees, we have the knowledge and the ability to kind of make recommendations. We had this idea that maybe sweet gum would go well on that tree because of on that street, because of the street conditions, not just we want to put sweet gum in town. But we have the ability where we could go to a street and kind of assess it and say, what tree possibly would work? Here's 5 options that would work for this street, for that person's request. and we could give it to the highway department and let them make the final decision based on the size and availability and the cost of what they are finding at Northern or wherever else they choose to buy it from. So we wouldn't be picking the exact tree for the exact person, but we could make recommendations about what we felt could work there.
Yeah. I think that that worked really well because we kind of did that for old Miss Una. We gave them a list of 5 trees that they could use instead of silver maples. And that's the reason that we've gotten some of the diversity that they were able to do this year.
That's
I
great.
think that's a really good approach. And I like Chris's ideas too.
That's great.
Does anybody want dinner?
I do.
You look like you're serving dinner to 6 people, Rich.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so I'll move that one up the list and add in a little bit about, following up with the tree planting request and developing a good way to incorporate the street tree master plan with, getting that dialogue continually going with the highway department.
Yeah.
And did anybody else have any comments on the goals?
Yes, please. I'm wondering if we could add, let me know if this is too specific a thing. Can we add the Jeff Blatnick sign rehab project as a goal on our list?
Yeah, I think we can put that on there because it would be nice to be able to check some off when we
and we have been talking about it.
Yeah, so that would probably go
for
into
2 or 3 years
right?
now. Right,
Yeah.
we've been considering it for a while. Maybe if we had it on our goal, we'd be pointed about it.
That would go under planting though, likely, right? Or do you want it as the whole, like sort of how we have adopt definition of tree of value? We could put finalized on Blatnick Park Plan.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Not sure.
I would put it under number 4, I think.
Yeah.
Which I'll be moving to number 1. So I'll put in just a couple, because we have like our pilot program of tree planting. Like, I don't know if we want to cross that one out because it's been successful. And we would put continue program of sort of like specific tree planting similar to the Cornelius Drive one.
Okay. Yeah.
And then we could also have underneath that, like finalize, the Blatnick Park replanting plan.
Yeah. Thank you.
sign. Okay.
Well, that sounds good. Any other additions? Like we lost Chris.
Yeah. So, and like, we obviously like just quick, like, and, we would continue to plan 2020 tree plantings where we can.
Mm-hmm.
2021.
2021. Yes.
Although we are still catching up from 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do we want to, I think for now, like, we would probably be able to check this one off once we're done with our tree master plan, but adopt a definition of tree of value or put that under tree master plan. Either way is fine with me.
Oh, a tree.
Tree of value.
I think the tree of the value should be part of the, don't you think it should be by the tree master plan? Because at least
Yeah. I think the
Yeah.
reason it was separated out last year is we were really struggling with it when we were doing site visits. But I think we can address it under tree master plan, so we can put it under there.
Yeah.
And it still continues to be very important. Every time we have an issue, not an issue, that's the wrong word, where we are looking at a site, an observation, it comes up. And I think we really have to nail it down this year.
Yeah. The odd thing is, and I don't know how we deal with this because it was very upsetting at Cornelius where we had all those sites and people would walk out and say, I don't want a tree. I don't want this, and yet it's not even there. We weren't even planting it on their property. It was town property. And they would say, I don't want this plant because of this. So there's we have to be very careful of our communication to people about these projects, so we have the information who really wants a tree and who doesn't. And I don't know whether, I thought you did put out surveys and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Laura sent out stuff and Linda, yeah.
And they didn't respond, as if it was not going to happen. So it felt really bad, particularly for all the workers there. They're digging this hole and somebody runs out and tells them, don't dig this hole. It's like sad,
It was a sad moment, and forgive me for just always being this way, but I can't help it. If you drive down Cornelius Ave this spring or this fall, it was
beautiful.
so beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that we will recognize, like from our experience on Windsor and some other places, is that there are definitely a contingent of people out there that don't want street trees. And yeah, working with them, allowing them their space and their belief. If, for instance, they're purchasing in a subdivision and it's required to have uniform street trees, then they don't have a say, right? But if we can be flexible and move them around and still have a relatively uniform street tree, beautiful thing, and work within them and what their needs are, then we're creating more of a community. We're not alienating people.
And
if we do that.
I would have, if I was on Cornelius and I'd run out and said, I don't want a tree, and then you looked around the next year and saw how beautiful it was, you would say, I want a tree.
Well, and then that's fine, because then we can go back, and that may be what happens, and that may be why it's good when we can. And somebody says we don't want a tree, we're not, to the extent that we, everything in balance. Don't force a tree on anybody, but slowly show them that it's worth it to have the trees, and that they do increase the property values, and they do help with your heating and cooling, and they help with your health and all of the other reasons it's so important to have street trees. It builds, right? So.
No, one good thing that happened was, remember when we were on Cornelius and Ray, people from the other extended part of the road came over and said, "Oh, are you coming down our street?" So there were also people who wanted it, who weren't, getting it that day. So there's a bright point in there.
Absolutely.
It's a combination of different views. You're not going to have 100% agreement every time, unfortunately, but we just have to give them that education moment, and hopefully, they'll come around, maybe not right at that moment, but like the next season, they'll see, how nice the trees are. So I think that's kind of where we have to stay focused, is, just like on the bigger picture. You're always going to have people that don't want it. So. Yeah. And
remember, we also had a positive thing when we were in that kind of that cul-de-sac-y neighborhood where we were placing trees, and the people where we were citing possible trees that the developer had to put in. Laura, do you remember the name?
Yes, actually, we still have to do that. That still has to get its planting. That'll be something that we do this spring.
Okay. So we were out there saying, well, hey, there's this physical space in the ground right here, right here, right here. And some owners were saying, well, I don't want it, kind of blocking my house. But the second that we said, well, what if we did this? Instead of putting the trees here, what if we did this and clustered them at the corners of your property? Oh, yeah, that's fine. So if it's a matter of moving something 5 feet, well, hey, awesome. They were accepting then of the tree. So that's great.
Well, that might have been Campo Court, but yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
So much to do.
We are a very busy board.
Yeah. A long list of goals, but I think we're
doing good here. Yeah.
So are there any other goals that, we can think of, or should we? We'll be voting on these the next time. Is that right, Laura?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Oh, and I know Chris dropped off, but the other thing I was thinking of doing, which we don't have enough members tonight to really do, but maybe for voting too, I could also attach a list of people in the subcommittees. We're currently 2 people down, I think, in Tree Council, and I'm going to be sending out an email blast to try and get to new regular members in addition to our youth member. And then maybe just by email, I can send out a list of the subcommittees and, just get people to sign up, and then we can have that for the next meeting too.
Sounds
Well,
great.
thank you. That would be helpful because we lost people on our committee. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So we
You know-
can switch around if we want to
Yeah.
sign up for what.
Yeah. And then I'll attach that as a separate page to the goals with subcommittees with what they do.
I was thinking a little bit more about this, and is there such a thing as, okay, so maybe the people are not official members of the tree council, but they're participating volunteers on our subcommittee. So we could have members of the public who wanted to so I'm on the tree planting subcommittee. They specifically just want to do stuff where they go out for the day and help plant, or they look for sites that need plantings, but they don't want to deal with all the other stuff that we do. Could they be a volunteer for our subcommittee without being on the tree council? Because I think that would open it up and we would have more people. Think about the gentleman on Lexington. They came out, oh, we're so happy to have a tree. People like that who may want to participate in one aspect of what we do, but not everything.
Yeah, we definitely can. I saw that work pretty good at the Racial Equity Task Force. They have the main task force, and then they have subcommittees that have completely different members. They have one member from the Racial Equity Task Force that kind of manages that subcommittee and can pull them together and have that subcommittee do work. And so then they're kind of spreading the work out because, there's more people in that subcommittee that are helping them. Then they bring the product back to the main committee. So yeah, that can definitely work. And maybe if I send this email out and, for whatever reason we get 30 applications, that's something that we can say, we'll put 2 regular members on the board and then see if we can, divide some of them into the subcommittees, and so that you're not carrying so much work. You guys are very ambitious.
Okay, so shall we move on to discussion items? Are we all good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, planning projects. Rivers Ledge is the first one. Is there any
I know you guys have looked at Rivers Ledge a couple times. I just got another landscaping plan from Rivers Ledge, and I was going to put it in your packet, and there were just so many typos and things on it, and it didn't have the number of plants, and I decided it would bring up more questions than would be worth it. So what I'll do is we sent him back a thing saying, fix all these typos, put the number of each, tree that you're putting, and just quickly, because it's something that you guys could always see. I think they just had sugar maples and red maples. So we asked them to diversify that a little, even though we couldn't really tell how many they were planting.
Thank you.
I will have a better plan for that, which I may just email you guys, because it wasn't worth bringing to the meeting tonight. And then we'll either look at that through email or we'll have that for the next meeting. Hilltop Ave is a little subdivision, 2-lot subdivision on Hilltop Ave that just went before the planning board. There are a couple trees there, so we may end up taking a look at that in the future. So I was just giving you a heads up. It recently had trees taken down this summer. And it's kind of pretty close to the intersection of Hilltop and Van Antwerp, which generally speaking, I think could use some street trees. So just be aware of that corridor that we'll be taking a look at here in the next month or two. And then the Kelch Shannon Boulevard subdivisions are both currently undergoing engineering. And we've had a lot of meetings, looking at those trees. And I do think, Amy, if it's possible, I don't remember until I read the minutes, but if we can get that guy that from the Landis Arboretum to come and look at them, I do think it would be helpful if we can say this open space that the town is taking as part of the subdivision does have, most likely, it looks very much like to me, old growth. And then we can actually say the tree council assisted in preserving an old growth, because we've had that opinion from somebody who is professional. I do think that would help us.
Okay.
So,
great.
So maybe if you and I can just set up an email chain with him and get a date. I know that Joel will let us go out there anytime we want, and then we can send it out to the rest of the tree council for whoever wants to come along.
Okie doke.
And
Sounds good.
that's all I have for planning projects. Did anybody have any questions on that?
In line with when people, designers or contractors submit their plan, do we have a piece of paper that we give them that kind of suggests what we're looking for? Like, hey, we want to see the number of plants, the scientific name of the plants, the location of the plants. Do we have something like that? So
No, we don't. No, because most of the people who submit to us are using engineers, and they typically do that.
Okay.
But sometimes they don't, and we don't actually have a canned. This is what we need to see for our landscaping. Like, here's just a quick rundown of what checklist we'd want to see.
Yeah, like a form letter checklist template that maybe that's something that we could work on. That's just a bulletized list. Don't waste your time by doing XYZ because we want to see ABC. Make sure you have all these things on your plan before you submit. And then it would save so much time for them too. They wouldn't have to resubmit each month, and we wouldn't have to hand it back to them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, like a form. Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. We'll put that on our master.
It's basically kind of telling them what the ethos of the community they're going into.
Yeah.
The trees
Developers are usually more interested in taking the trees down, so it's really important to constantly
Yeah, but if there's the town or members of the town feel this is important.
Yeah. It's kind of like one of those lists, when you submit for a competition and you say, put your name on the back of the paper, make sure the paper is 8 by 12, make sure, so you just go through your little checklist and make sure you've done those items, and it saves everybody time.
Right. I agree with you.
Maybe that would be worth putting on the goals.
Yeah, I just wrote that. I definitely think it fits into those things that we had on there.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay, and then I sort of touched on the street tree master plan. Just that, I know we wanted to try to have one in December, but with the holidays and with our staffing, we just weren't able to get that done. But I will set one up, and when we kind of formalize our subcommittees, we'll get a January date to get that going. It's all encumbered. It's all paid for. We are, fully ready to do it. We just need to sit down there with with a couple of us and kind of get it going again.
And a clarification, I believe you said you would send in one of the minutes, you would send out kind of an email saying that if people wanted to participate on a specific date.
Yes, yeah.
Because
I'll invite everyone. Nobody's obligated, but because
I would be interested in doing that.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Okay, we can move on to reports. Looks like the Public Outreach Committee is number 1.
I don't know that we actually. I mean, we can kind of skip these if you want to, Amanda, only because as far as I know, there hasn't been a whole lot of changes, and they kind of work into the goals, and we do need to kind of allocate people to the subcommittees.
Yes. I was just going to say there's really no report on the public outreach.
I think the public outreach, because I think one of the prongs that they maintain is the Tree City certification, and like I said, Carol did work on that with me, and we were able to get it submitted. So we did have one kind of goal reached.
Nice.
Yeah, that was like an end of the year thing that Carol squeaked in, so that was nice. Okay, is there any other committee things that we've got to talk about? Let's see. I guess that was it as far as any, sorry, go ahead, Amy.
I'm sorry, are you going on to the next one, or are you still doing public outreach?
If you have something for one of the next ones, go ahead. We don't have anything more for public outreach, so.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't want to, and I just couldn't hear, my bad.
That's okay.
So I have an update for tree planting, and I would like your opinions. If you could, I'll show you. All right, so I've been working on gathering all the info because we were going to give a list to Ray Smith and the highway department of trees that would be good, and again, kind of our master list of trees, not the master list of what we have in town, but a list of potential trees for the future. So I've been gathering info, tons of stuff, and now I'm debating which way to present it in final form. So I've got three options. The way it is now is kind of like this. And it's not important to read the words, but columns with, like scientific name, common name, size, and it's just, it looks like it was from an Excel program or something, right? A chart, just with all the trees. And I could put on that scientific name, common name, the size that they get in maturity, and some special feature, white flowers in May or orange fall leaves. One of the issues with the current list is that it is both too complete and incomplete at the same time. So for, let's say for maples, it'll have 6 or 7 different cultivar names of maples, and yet there's hundreds that could be available. So does it say that we're only limiting it to the 6 cultivars when we've got all these other ones that come out and new ones that come out every year? And then there's also tree types that are missing from that list. So I'm struggling with how vague and how precise to be. That's one question. I personally don't think I need to list every single cultivar that is okay. What I would rather list are ones that are not okay, because that's a much shorter list. So this would be the least number of papers to give to put in the binder, right? Because everything's kind of crunched in, and it's the least amount of info, no pictures, just very factual. But when when Laura and I gave information to Ray's department, we thought that it might be helpful to have pictures. So one of the ways that I did it, and this is the way I also did it for the Landis Arboretum plant sale, was 1 plant per page with scientific name, common name at the top, and then some facts about it like size and zone, and then a bunch of pictures of its attributes. So variegated leaves, spring flowers, fall color, seed pods. Hey, is that good or bad for a street tree if you have seed pods? And then so it's 1 plant per page, and you put it in the plastic sleeves in the binder. And so when the guys, my vision is that when the guys go to Northern to pick out the trees, they can bring this binder with them and kind of flick through as they're walking around. Oh, I don't know what that tree is. I haven't heard of a Halesia before. Let me flick through. Oh, here's a Halesia, and this would be in color. Oh, this is what it looks like. That's kind of pretty. Okay, maybe we can put that on Smith Street. So that's option 2. Option 3 is kind of halfway in between. So in option 2, it's only 1 plant per page. So your binder is going to be bigger and thicker, but you get a much more visionary sensory attachment to the plant than just listing its name in a column. Okay, so option 3 is halfway in between. So we're listing scientific name, height, zone, some little attributes in these small boxes, and then you only get room for 4 pictures going across. Maybe it's spring flowers, fall color, mature size, kind of the shape of the tree. See, in this case, the shape of the tree might be important, that it would be a narrower street tree. And you can fit 2 plants per page. Again, this would be in color. So this would be kind of a compromise between the 2. I'm wondering if you all have any gut reactions, any comments about this to help me make a final decision. And I ask that now because now that I've gotten all the data, which was a huge thing to do, this also takes a whole bunch of time to put it. And I don't want to put it in this format and then have to all change to this format, because it's not an easy swap with the pictures. I mean, it's just cutting and pasting, but it would be hours. So can you give me your gut reactions on that?
I have a reaction, but I first have a question for clarification. Your option 1, is that you're saying you're only listing trees not to get? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, so option 1, I'm listing trees that you can get, which would be the genus and the species, but I wouldn't list the hundreds of cultivars.
Right.
So, for example, I'm using red maple,
Yeah.
and this one has October Glory as a cultivar. It also has Red Point, but there's many more. There's one called Frank's Red. There's Scarlet Fire. There's we don't. I feel that we don't need to list 25 different types of sugar maples or any other tree. We just say sugar maple is acceptable. And then on a separate list, we have a very clear and very separate, that you have to turn the page, list that has things we can't have because they're invasive.
I see.
Right. And because the guys were complaining that the list was kind of on the same page and melded together, and it was hard for them to see, to read which was acceptable and which was not acceptable.
Right. Between option 3 and 2, I like 3 better, being able to see the tree in the different seasons. Get a visual as to what it's like in the different seasons.
So,
yeah, I like that.
You like this one better than this one?
I personally do, yeah. Gives me
Is
a
that
better feeling
is that
with the tree.
because you're fitting more on one page?
It's partly that. It's also seeing the tree as a whole rather than seeing the leaves, individual pictures of leaves. The leaves helps me identify it, but if I want to know what it's going to look like when it's full grown, I think the full picture of the tree gives me a better image.
Okay. Now, also, just to let you know, I can also put that on this format as well, like the mature shape of the tree, if that's the only thing that's holding you back. And I'm not trying to sway you either way.
Well, showing in different seasons, what it's like in fall and spring and summer is helpful too.
Okay.
So is the idea any of these photographs are showing trees that are much more mature than what we'd be necessarily putting in the ground?
I do have that option. I also, when I do this for clients, I sometimes use this method. And as you go across, I would have like what it looked like as a baby. This one doesn't show it, but oftentimes because the client is not getting a 25-year-old tree, they're getting a baby, a young tree. So I would show, this is what it looks like when it's baby. This is 10 years in, and this is maturity. And this is what it looks like with spring flowers, and this is fall leaves, and these are the seed pods. So I would try to give them as much info as possible, and I still have to be aware of how much physical space it's taking up on a page.
But you're thinking of this for the gentlemen that work and are going to be planting these things and picking them up for us and all the rest of it. So that's
the goal of that list.
I think, I don't know that they need to see a whole grand avenue of plants, but they might need to see a leaf or something to make it that they actually get the right plant. As opposed to something that looks like it. You know what I'm saying? Many of the men who work in that department do know trees, but they might not know exotic trees, so that's, I don't know.
And my gut feeling is like, how much information do they really
That's what I'm thinking about.
need? If they're carrying something, either a sheet or a binder or whatever, to Northern, are they going to spend time like looking through everything? Or are they just going to want like a list? Okay, sugar maple, sweet gum, oak. Those are the things that they're very familiar with. And as they're walking around, they're going to see sugar maple. Then are they going to is the intent like, okay, then look at the cultivar and see if that cultivar is acceptable, or if it just says sugar maple, we're good to go.
Yeah.
So are you giving them like almost too much information if you have all the pictures of every...
Go
Do
ahead.
do the homeowners have any input as to what tree gets planted in front of the house?
They do let them request. They do let them request a tree. They won't always honor their request, though.
Because I guess I was thinking the visual of the trees is helpful for the homeowner to know what might get planted if they get to have a say on it. But I agree with what Andrea and Amanda are saying. For the guys going to pick up the trees, we don't need to send them with an encyclopedia, just a list of trees. Yeah.
Well, it's almost
when
like
we did-
the Niskayuna catalog of trees that are acceptable street trees type thing. That would be nice. And I
Just to let you know, when we did Cornelius and Ray, and we made these packets for the homeowners to touch on what you're saying, Jonathan, we used this format, but there were only 10 different types of trees that we planted on that street. So they got one tree per page so they could see all the aspects of their particular tree in front of their particular house.
Yeah, that's good for homeowners, I think. You know, I would be interested in that if I was like trying to pick a tree.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if the guys that are going to Northern need all that extra information.
Okay.
So-
Now, the second part of this question, with taking all the information I've already gathered, we have different things that we're going to do with it. So the first thing we're going to do with it is make this packet for the guys going to Northern. The second option that we've talked about is that it goes on the website for when people pick their memorial tree and the eventual memorial program, right? So maybe what goes on the website is more this sort of thing. So they see the friendly pictures and they know more about the tree that they're getting for their past loved one.
Yeah, I like that. I like that idea of that version.
And then we had a third option that I would like your comments on. It's all tied together. The third thing we were talking about was the guys who go pick the tree, would it be helpful to have it categorized according to attribute? So for example, flowering tree, here's the 10 different ones off of our master potential list, potential trees. Here are the ones that have spring flowers. So if a person says, oh, I want something that flowers in the spring, but not a crabapple, then they can just go down that list and say, well, here's 5, 6, 7 other trees that flower in the spring. Then we would have one that had narrow trees, because remember, Laura, we had some places on Cornelius where we only had this much space for the tree. That little space between the sidewalk and the street was so narrow. So we could have a category, they flip a page, here's all the trees just in a list that are okay, that are super, super narrow. So we could do a couple of attribute breakouts, if you will.
sounds really good.
That is a really good idea, because we kind of already did that. But I think that what they hear the most is, I want a red maple. So we should put a list so that when somebody asks them for a red maple, they can be like, okay, well, you can have.
Yeah. And unfortunately, when people ask for a red maple, it's not a red maple they're asking for. They're actually asking for a Norway maple Crimson King, which was on our species invasive list, and we don't plant.
That's true.
Yeah. So maybe I should do a one piece of paper about what is a red maple versus a Crimson King, because if you show the person a picture,
Website was a blog thing.
yeah, if you have them right next to each other, this is what you think you want, but the name that you're calling it is really this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I like
so-
the idea of the list with the attributes also, like as an.
Yeah, they
Okay.
have nuts, you know, or- yeah.
So based on the one, your final answer for the binder that goes with the guys to Northern, does it end up being a straightforward list, no pictures, or is it a simplified, it's not this one. That one's too much info.
Well, they don't need that one.
So is it this one more simplified, or is it this just with a list with no pictures?
For the guys, just the list, I think we're saying, right?
Okay.
I think they'll respond most just to a list. It's easiest for them to manage.
All right, so the binder for Ray and the guys will just be a list.
About that. Do you think, I mean, when you're there and you see something, you say, wow, that looks nice. And then you could use the pictures and say, oh, it's that, as opposed to, I don't know.
I would love the pictures. If it were me, I would want one page per plant everywhere that I go. But I think if they have to carry it around in their truck and print it out if they lose it,
Well,
and
Yeah.
You know what I could try?
a lot of stuff when they're out there, and so if it's a lot of
I know.
yeah,
I could try one more thing. I could try this and have the final column be one picture. So it's halfway between this list and this list.
Yeah.
And I could present that to you in the future.
Yes, that would
And
work.
you have also the list of trees by attribute, just the
Yes,
list.
tree,
You know,
yes, which would
not
kind of be in
pictures or
the
whatever,
front.
but
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the, like, with a different tab in the front, you know. So I envision this as a binder with a tab, flowering trees, and then shade trees, trees to replace silver maples, because wasn't that a request? Right? So there'd be 4 or 5 different attributes, and then you would have the whole list of all of our preferred trees.
Sounds great. Useful for everyone.
we can put
think it
all
will
that
be.
on our website too. I think that would be great. And if we decide that we want to do a, I want a red maple blog part on our, you know, we can even do like an email blast to everybody saying, so you like that red maple? It's not really a red maple. And you know
Not
why
really a red-
species are so much better?
Yeah. And I get that question all the time. You know, even where I work, people will come in. We had someone this season who came in and insisted that they wanted a red maple. And I was standing right next to the red maple saying, this is it. And they were saying, no, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, I'm standing right. I do know what I'm talking about. And this is it right here. So it's just kind of that misperception, you know.
well, thanks for all that background work you've been doing, Amy.
Sure. It's, you know what it is? It's like painting, right? You have to do all the days of prep, and the actual painting itself is so fast that, so I think it's all like the accumulating of all the stuff, and then
Yeah.
the cutting and pasting will be faster.
Good job. Really good job.
Thank you, Amy.
Sure. My pleasure. That's it from me.
As far as our agenda goes, I think we're set.
Mhm.
So any other comments before we adjourn? Are we ready to adjourn, Laura?
I would like to say a thank you to Laura. It really, really helps when you send out a reminder and the packet ahead of time. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
That was really nice.
I didn't care about that.
Agreed.
Well, I would recommend we are ready to adjourn. We're ready to
All right, I think we're ready to adjourn. I don't think we have to vote on that, do we, Laura?
Bye.
can't- You do, okay. Everybody say aye if you're ready to adjourn.
Bye.
Bye.
Aye.
Hey, take care, everybody.
All right.
Good to see everyone. Stay
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah, stay safe.
Bye.
All right, thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Bye.
evening.